Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throne of Seal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
The child came with good intentions, but was treated poorly by him and others. But on the other hand, there was the hymn of the goddess of light. Long HaoChen felt for the first time how difficult he had made things. It was at this moment that Long HaoChen made a move. Brilliant golden light suddenly flashed behind him, and four spiritual wings unfolded simultaneously, vigorously absorbing light elements from the air. At the same time, Long HaoChen raised his right hand, and the hymn of the goddess of light appeared in his grasp once again. An even more peculiar scene followed, as a golden figure seemed to step back from Long HaoChen, appearing in everyone's sight as his four wings spread. A golden battle dress, a golden staff, and beautiful golden hair along with 6 transparent golden wings. What's more, she had the same substance and height as a human, with only pointed ears revealing her origin. Ancient elf? The elderly vice lord couldn't help but exclaim, after decades of research on ancient elves. However, he had never seen a real ancient elf. When Yiting appeared before everyone, everything matched his imagination of ancient elves. No, this is an elemental spirit. Long HaoChen, being the head of the warrior temple, had a strong perception. Despite refuting his old friend's words, he was shocked as well, although he could sense that it was an elemental spirit. Who had ever seen an elemental spirit like this, resembling an ancient elf? Long HaoChen, how much more astonishment do you have for us before you're satisfied? This time, not only Long HaoChen regretted, even the usually firm vice lord felt a twinge of regret. Yiting naturally didn't care about others' opinions. Like Hao, as soon as she appeared, she immediately started chanting a spell. A dense golden light instantly emanated from her body, flowing towards Long HaoChen. Long HaoChen lifted his head, gazing at the hymn of the goddess of light in his hand. He, however, didn't chant any spells himself. His entire focus was on the divine sword. The immense sword aura emitted by the hymn of the goddess of light gradually retracted under his gaze, converging into the sword's body. But with each retraction, it became more solid, and its color shifted from bright gold to dark gold. Long HaoChen's eyes were like lightning. At this moment, he seemed to have completely merged with the divine sword, as if the hymn of the goddess of light was just the sharpness of his entire being. He himself was like the sword's body. The formidable sword intent continued to rise, and the golden radiance on Long HaoChen's body grew increasingly intense. At this moment, he seemed to have returned to the small hill and dream paradise, not just with understanding, but also with a proud and disdainful attitude. Even though he was facing a 9th-ranked powerhouse, he didn't flinch at all. Hao and Yiting continued to infuse spiritual power into Long HaoChen, with Hao using his expertise in light element spiritual power. However, this time it was not just Xiaoguan using it alone, but the other 3 heads converted their own attributes entirely into light elements, giving their all to assist Long HaoChen. Yiting used the simplest radiant world magic, but her radiant world amplified Long HaoChen's spiritual power 3 times more than a regular radiant world. Moreover, these light element spiritual powers were all refined by her. Not exaggerating, apart from not being able to increase his overall spiritual power, his sustained combat power is equivalent to that of a powerhouse with 20,000 spiritual powers. Yiting and Hao Yu's support for him can only be described as terrifying. Finally, the hymn of the goddess of light in Long HaoChen's hands has completely turned into dark gold, and even his body has taken on the same color. This feeling is not eerie, but unbelievably powerful. Even the overwhelming sword intent can be felt outside the warrior temple. It seems that with just one swing of this sword, it could create a new world. It was at this moment that Long HaoChen made a move. Stepping forward with his left foot, he swung the heavy sword forcefully. Simple and direct, without any embellishments. A Jura strike of the holy radiance. Even though Long HaoChen didn't use the gathering power skill, when he swung this sword, the tangible sword intent crazily drained all his spiritual power. Without any sound, and without a trace of spiritual power leaking out, everyone only saw a flash of dark gold light, and the extremely sharp sword intent even caused numerous decorations inside the warrior temple to crack. The powerhouses of the warrior temple had to activate their spiritual power to protect themselves. Just feeling the presence of the sword intent made them instinctively protect themselves. What if they faced this sword for real? Long HaoChen's expression truly changed. This time, because he actually found out that if he faced this sword himself, even if he could kill Long HaoChen, he wouldn't have the certainty to escape unscathed. Despite Long HaoChen's cultivation being less than the 7th rank, Long HaoChen, a seasoned 9th rank powerhouse, found himself uncertain. However, surprisingly, the extraterrestrial meteorite still stood there without any movement. On the other hand, Long HaoChen, who swung this sword, collapsed as if exhausted. Yiting held him from behind, preventing him from falling. Soft, golden light continuously radiated from Yiting, merging into Long HaoChen's body. While Hao Yu's 4 large heads slowly lifted up, all 8 eyes turned into a purple hue. The 9 purple lines on Long HaoChen's forehead reappeared, but after awakening the god's blessing constitution, these lines had turned into a purple-gold color. Long HaoChen's body trembled slightly, gradually standing upright, and the hymn of the goddess of light had long transformed into gold, merging into his right hand. Swinging the sword he used just now, he actually fell into a temporary state of unconsciousness. And it was only due to the continuous healing from Hao Yu and Yiting that he recovered. However, all of this was worthwhile, because just now, with that one sword, Long HaoChen clearly merged his understanding of gazing at the Ye Wushang statue with the sword intent he had already comprehended. Without exaggeration, his comprehension of sword intent had reached an extremely profound level, at least comparable to Ye Wushang when he was 30 years old. The powerhouses of the warrior temple remained silent, as they didn't know what to say. Even though it seemed like Long HaoChen had failed, the terrifying sword intent just now was indeed too powerful. Those who had witnessed Ye Wushang's battles, Qiu Yonghao and the Vice Lord, felt it most deeply. In that moment they seemed to think that Ye Wushang had come back to life. Just based on the sword intent, they understood that Long HaoChen indeed had the qualification to wield the hymn of the goddess of light. Such a person couldn't be found throughout the entire warrior temple. HaoChen. Qiu Yonghao took a few steps forward, attempting to console the young man, and in his heart, he was already considering whether he could convince the higher-ups of the warrior temple to let this young man become the owner of the divine sword. Long HaoChen turned his head weakly, managing a faint smile towards Qiu Yonghao. At this moment, he was so weak that he could hardly speak, and if it weren't for Hao Yu and Yiting, he might have fallen into a deep coma. The consumption from the previous move was truly overwhelming for him, depleting not only his spiritual power, but also his mental energy and all of his physical strength. At this moment, he was so weak that he couldn't even lift a finger. However, this situation was gradually improving, thanks to the well-coordinated efforts of Hao Yu and Yiting. A layer of faint purple light continuously emanates from Hao Yu. Long HaoChen's body receives the infusion of this purple light, and his physical strength is gradually recovering, while Yiting provides for him the purest light elements. Qiu Yonghao sighs lightly and says, "Child, I have a proposal. Although you have failed, you have done quite well. I understand, at least for now, only you can wield this divine sword, and the hymn of the goddess of light has chosen a good owner. You are the son of Long Xingyu, and also the designated successor to the Night Temple Lord. I shouldn't say this, but you understand, this divine sword is too important for our warrior temple. I can't offer any more precious chips, only my own position, if you are willing. Then, from this moment on, you are the lord of our warrior temple, and I will step down as the vice lord, fully supporting you. You also don't need to carry out your demon hunting squad missions. As the lord of the warrior temple, your cultivation and everything else will receive full support from the warrior temple. I also believe, in the near future, you will be the second commander. Yeah." When he spoke these words, Qiu Yonghao's mood was very agitated. Making this decision was not difficult for him. It could even be said that it was done in an instant, and he didn't consult with anyone. He believed he could convince the others in the warrior temple. His words had no flattery, but came entirely from the heart. Long HaoChen is truly outstanding. As a 9th-rank powerhouse, Qiu Yonghao sees very clearly, whether it's his mount or his light elemental elf, they are beyond ordinary, not to mention his 2 pairs of wings, which reveal unlimited potential for the future. Perhaps, even though Long HaoChen is only at the 6th rank now, Qiu Yonghao is completely sure that even 7th-rank powerhouses may not be able to contend with him. A young powerhouse like Long HaoChen appearing in front of him makes him unable to restrain his admiration for talent. However, Long HaoChen already has many unique advantages, so what can Qiu Yonghao offer him? What could have enough appeal for him to leave the Night Temple and join the Warrior Temple? And at the same time, leave the hymn of the Goddess of Light forever in the Warrior Temple. In such a short time, the only thing he can think of is his position as the Lord of the Warrior Temple. The Temple Alliance consists of 6 major temples. Becoming one of the Temple Lords is one of the 6 giants of the entire Temple Alliance. This position and honor are already the pinnacle achievable by humans, only comparable to the title-level Demon Hunting Squad Captain. At this statement, the entire audience was shocked. Almost every warrior of the Warrior Temple exclaimed. They never expected the Lord to say such words. Moreover, with Qiu Yonghao's status, since these words were spoken, they would not be retracted. Even the Alliance would not be able to stop him. Of course, whether Long HaoChen can truly take the position of Lord of the Warrior Temple depends on the unanimous decision of the Warrior Temple's higher-ups. However, Qiu Yonghao holds a very high position in the Warrior Temple, and with his promise, Long HaoChen is almost halfway to sitting on the Lord's throne of the Warrior Temple. "Senior you," Long HaoChen weakly says. Qiu Yonghao earnestly says, "What I said will not change, and I won't regret it. As long as you are willing to take the position of the Lord of the Warrior Temple, for our Warrior Temple, it will be the beginning of glory. Although you are very young now, but in the future, you will be the pride of the Warrior Temple, and even surpass Commander Ye. Come, child, the doors of the Warrior Temple are wide open for you, and from now on, Everything in the warrior temple will be at your command. Xiao Yonghao's words are undoubtedly tempting. It can be said that, in the 6,000 years since the founding of the Temple Alliance, such a situation has never occurred before. Moreover, Xiao Yonghao doesn't know Long HaoChen's true age. A 16-year-old youth being given such an important position as the Lord of the Warrior Temple is truly unheard of. At this moment, the emotions of the Warrior Temple's higher-ups have gradually stabilized, and each person's eyes begin to reveal an unusual figure. Xiao Yonghao's words were directed at Long HaoChen, but weren't they also spoken to the others? They have seen everything Long HaoChen displayed just now. If this young man can really become the Lord of the Warrior Temple, then, 10, 20 years later, he will bring a bright future to the Warrior Temple. The previously dominant Vice Lord of the Warrior Temple strides up to Xiao Yonghao. Just when Xiao Yonghao thought this old friend was going to oppose his decision, this old man decisively says, "I agree with Brother Xiao's decision. Child, as long as you are willing, you will be the first in the Warrior Temple from now on." If we say, Xiao Yonghao's previous promise at least allowed Long HaoChen to sit on half of the Warrior Temple's throne, then, the words of this senior Vice Lord have already established everything. As long as Long HaoChen agrees, then, it's really going to happen. Two seniors, I'm really sorry, I can't. I am a member of the Night Temple, and now I am a demon hunting squad captain, and even the captain of a demon hunting squad. I have to be responsible for my teammates. Moreover, I haven't failed. While the two Temple Lords and Vice Lords were talking, Long HaoChen's strength finally recovered a bit, at least enough to speak. He actually refused? The two old men were a bit stunned, and what did he say? He didn't fail. Long HaoChen gave a signal to Haoyu, and Haoyu's huge body slightly turned, and his tail gently swept toward the meteorite. With a loud noise, at least a third of the meteorite fell to the ground. Its weight was indeed considerable, and it erupted into a strong roar upon hitting the ground. But at the same time, it once again shocked the entire audience. Everyone knows how hard the meteorite is, let alone splitting it in half. It would be extremely difficult to even cut off a small piece. It turns out, he didn't fail, but rather, he cut off such a large piece of the meteorite. However, including the many ninth-rank powerhouses present, not a single person saw Long HaoChen's sword clearly, as if, at the moment that sword was swung, it swallowed even the light. Xiao Yonghao felt his throat dry. At this moment, he didn't know what to say. He had no words, and the Warrior Temple powerhouses present were equally speechless. At this moment, Xiao Yonghao's mind is even a blank slate. Taking advantage of this brief moment, Long HaoChen's strength has recovered somewhat. He straightens his body. Supported by Yating, he slowly walks to the meteorite. Golden light shines, the light of eternal melody envelopes the meteorite, and a third of the meteorite instantly disappears, as agreed earlier. Due to the Warrior Temple's previous attitude, Long HaoChen directly cut off a third of the meteorite, naturally, becoming his reward this time. But did the Warrior Temple really lose out? The answer is no. Yating points her staff at the remaining two-thirds of the meteorite, a flash of golden light, and the meteorite seems to emit a faint hum. Then, a majestic sword intent emanates from the smooth, mirror-like cut surface. Sharp sword intent rises into the sky and slowly descends again. The powerful sword intent ultimately converges within a 3-meter radius of the meteorite, gradually radiating outward, no longer as sharp as before, but this sword intent is even more solid. Yes, Long HaoChen's sword left all his sword intent in this meteorite, otherwise, he wouldn't have become so weak. Of course, his own sword intent won't disappear. It just needs time for his body to recover, and this meteorite will retain the sword intent for at least 100 years. Under the stimulation from Yating's spiritual energy, the sword intent is released. This is the most precious thing Long HaoChen leaves to the Warrior Temple, leaving every warrior present speechless. Xiao Yonghao slowly comes to Long HaoChen's side, heaves a long sigh, and says, "Child, come with me." As he speaks, he slowly walks towards the staircase on the side of the hall. He walks slowly. In this moment, he seems to have aged a bit more. Under the gaze of other Warrior Temple powerhouses, Long HaoChen follows Xiao Yonghao up the stairs. By now, Long HaoChen's strength has recovered considerably. Before ascending the stairs, he first sends Haoyu back to the Tower of Eternity, then follows Xiao Yonghao upstairs. At the top level of the Warrior Temple, the Lord's office, Xiao Yonghao points to the sofa on the side and says, "Sit." Long HaoChen looks around the room of the highest leader of the Warrior Temple, and is greatly surprised, because it is incredibly simple. There are no decorations, just a simple table, chairs, wooden bookshelves, and a very old sofa, and even a wooden bed. That's all. Although the room is spacious, covering 200 square meters, it gives a sense of vast emptiness. Xiao Yonghao says calmly, "When Commander Ye led the Warrior Temple, the room was arranged like this, and 100 years later, it remains the same. Not a single thing moved, even the position." From the moment he saw the Lord of the Warrior Temple, Long HaoChen could sense his fervent reverence for Ye Wuxiang. "Are you curious, as the Lord of the Warrior Temple, why I cherish the memory of Commander Ye so much?" Xiao Yonghao looks at Long HaoChen with melancholy. Long HaoChen remains silent, just nodding slightly. Because I was Commander Ye's attendant, or you could say, his servant. We grew up together, partners from childhood. Qiu Yonghao's voice even chokes up a bit, as the hymn of the goddess of light plays, evoking his most painful yet beautiful memories. Commander Ye came from a wealthy family. His father was a regional governor, while my family was poor. At the age of 5, I was sold to Commander Ye's family by my parents, becoming a servant. I'm 2 years younger than Commander Ye, so the household had me follow him, serving as his personal attendant, a position I held for life. Commander Ye treated me very well. From childhood to adulthood, he never treated me as a servant. I still remember clearly, when he, at the age of 7, said to me, "From now on, you're my younger brother, and I'll protect you." At this point, Qiu Yonghao can no longer restrain his emotions, tears streaming down his face. This man, over 100 years old, is crying for memories from over 100 years ago. If Long HaoChen had some dissatisfaction with the warrior temple before, with Qiu Yonghao's proposal for him to inherit the position of the lord and his genuine emotions now, any discontent has turned into sympathy. Commander Ye practiced swordsmanship. He also let me accompany him in sword practice. Commander Ye joined the warrior temple, and he also let me join the warrior temple with him. Even on the eve of his decisive battle with the demon god emperor, he didn't forget to advise me to practice diligently. At that time, I was only at the 7th level of cultivation. If it weren't for Commander Ye, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would just be a servant, leading an ordinary and unremarkable life. I never thought that today I would see the resplendent brilliance of Commander Ye's divine sword again. I know, it's impossible for you to return the divine sword to the warrior temple. You're right, the divine sword can only shine in your hands to recreate the brilliance of Commander Ye from that year. However, I hope you won't be as impulsive as Commander Ye was back then. Before your wings fully unfold, prioritize your own safety. Because you belong not only to yourself now, but also to the Alliance, the hope of all humanity. Yes. Long HaoChen stands up, respectfully responding. Qiu Yonghao sighs. I really envy the Night Temple. My words will always be valid. As long as you're willing, the doors of the warrior temple are always open to you. Speaking of this, his eyes suddenly light up. He suddenly has an idea. HaoChen, if in the future you take over the Night Temple, and also take on the position of Lord of the Warrior Temple, what do you think? Ah. Long HaoChen is surprised. Lord, you're placing too much importance on me. Qiu Yonghao chuckles and says, it's not impossible. It's not that I value you, but your demonstrated abilities have earned you respect. However, all of this is contingent upon you must survive. I heard from Su Zhongliang that you came to the Warrior Temple with 3 matters. The most important one has already been accomplished. What are the other 2? Long HaoChen says. My companions and I just accepted some hunting missions, planning to enter the territory of the demons with the Moonlit Night Merchant Group, but our cultivation levels are all above the 6th level, and we fear we won't pass inspection when leaving the southeast fortress. Qiu Yonghao says. This is simple. I'll make arrangements, and it will be fine. What's the second matter? After pondering for a moment, Long HaoChen briefly recounts his experience in Star Search City, without adding any personal emotions, just stating the facts. Warriors are engaged in a fierce battle with demons ahead. This situation has arisen in the rear. Can I ask the Lord to pay attention to this? Qiu Yonghao frowned slightly, saying, I understand. I will pay attention to this matter. Is there anything else the warrior temple can help with? Long HaoChen shakes his head. Qiu Yonghao smiles faintly. Then let me give you a gift, ah? Long HaoChen hastily says. Senior, it's not necessary. The warrior temple has already given me a lot. Allowing me to use the hymn of the goddess of light is already the most significant gift, not to mention the piece of extraterrestrial meteorite. Qiu Yonghao smiles mysteriously and says, This secret is actually within yourself, but in the entire world, only I know about it. Long HaoChen looks at the old lord with curiosity. In the early morning, the vehicles of the Moonlit Night Merchant Group slowly left the southeast fortress, heading towards the demon territory. Having received instructions from the warrior temple, inspections along the way were much more relaxed. Long HaoChen and his companions sat in a carriage in the middle of the merchant group. They were about to enter the demon territory again, embarking on a new journey for their mission. However, their emotions this time were different from their previous entries into demon territory. If before it was anxiety or excitement, now they were much calmer, with a newfound confidence. The Moonlit Night Merchant Group was wealthy and influential, and the carriage Long HaoChen and his companions were in was the same as the one Yu Ye used when they first entered the demon territory with the Moonlit Night Merchant Group. The carriage was spacious and warm, even equipped with a table, and a dedicated food cabinet beside it, filled with prepared food. Opening the curtains, Long HaoChen looks outside. They set out at dawn, and by now, they have left the southeast fortress. The sky is gradually brightening, though the weather isn't particularly good, with a grayish hue in the sky. Long HaoChen takes out a scroll of parchment from the Eternal Melody, spreading it out on the table inside the carriage. The map is covered in dense annotations, detailing the distribution of demon provinces, the species of demons in each province, and the location of the demon god. I'm afraid even the official maps of the Temple Alliance may not be as detailed as this map. This map was naturally obtained by Yu Ye for Long HaoChen. She made a condition that Long HaoChen must not hand over this map to the Alliance. Long HaoChen pointed to a city in Narak Province and said, "Here is the capital of Narak Province, and also the station of the avian demons. Our first task is to complete it here. Probably tonight, Moonlit Night Merchant Company will reach the demon border camp. If everything goes well, by tomorrow noon, the caravan will pass through the capital city NATO for a brief rest. After the incident of Moonlit Night Merchant Group being ambushed last time, now the inspections on Moonlit Night Merchant Group by demons are much more relaxed. We take advantage of this opportunity to complete the task of killing 5 golden goblins in NATO City. Then we will follow the caravan deeper into the demon territory." Wan Yuanyuan said, "Captain, won't assassinating golden goblins in NATO City attract the attention of the demon clan there when we follow the caravan? According to the map, there is a demon god stationed in NATO City." Long HaoChen nodded and said, "Raising suspicion is inevitable. But even if we raise suspicion, they may not dare to search the caravan, and even if they do, can they find us?" Speaking of this, a faint smile appeared on his face. Wan Yuanyuan suddenly realized and nodded repeatedly. The others couldn't help but smile. Yeah, searching for Long HaoChen and others is not an easy task. Why does Long HaoChen dare to take 16 tasks, including the difficult task of hunting the 72nd pillar demon god? In addition to confidence in their own strength, the most important thing is that they have a life-saving method that other demon hunting squads don't have, which is the Tower of Eternity. With this place of refuge, when encountering strong enemies, they can completely avoid their sharpness. A faint light flickered, and a cold divine light appeared on Long HaoChen's face. Good, the first step of the plan is settled. I will have Moonlit Night Merchant Group help us determine the location of the golden goblins. This time, in order to complete the kills in the shortest time, we must act separately. Caier and I will each kill a golden goblin separately. Lin Xin, you and Han Yu will be a team. You are responsible for killing the golden goblin with the blue fire phoenix spirit furnace, and Han Yu will support you. Yuanyuan, Shima, each of you is responsible for 1 golden goblin, and Yin Air will support you. Yes. The crowd responded eagerly, excitement evident in their eyes. After nearly a year of closed-door cultivation, they already have a feeling of gathering power ready to be unleashed. They have another opportunity to hunt demons, and this time, many of them will face the 6th-ranked demon, Golden Goblin, alone. This is the first time they dared to think about facing such a powerful creature. But now they are full of confidence. The process of entering the demon territory went very smoothly. Just as Long HaoChen said, the treatment Moonlit Night Merchant Group received after entering the demon territory was much better than that in the Temple Alliance. Many demon gods already know that Yu Ye will be the extraordinary princess of the anti-dragon demon dragon clan, the prince consort of the demon god emperor's successor, who would dare to scrutinize Moonlit Night Merchant Group carefully? Moreover, with the lesson of the 3 major demon gods mobilizing a large army to raid Moonlit Night Merchant Group last time, now wherever the caravan goes, it encounters no obstacles. This is also why Long HaoChen values Moonlit Night Merchant Group. With this protective umbrella, they can avoid many troubles. Moreover, Moonlit Night Merchant Group can provide them with a lot of important information. It seems that all 16 tasks are very difficult, but with the help of Moonlit Night Merchant Group, their troubles can be reduced by at least 1/3, and the level of danger will also decrease. Significantly, they smoothly passed through the demon border checkpoints. The next morning, the caravan had already entered the demon Narak province, just as Long HaoChen had calculated. At noon, they reached the capital city NATO of Narak province. The caravan would rest here for an hour, then continue their journey. For a free-roaming merchant group like Moonlit Night Merchant Group, staying at inns during trade is not practical at all. Staying in inns would significantly increase costs and reduce efficiency. All their carriages are equipped with tents, so they rest wherever they go. Therefore, after entering NATO City, the main purpose is to replenish water and some food. At the same time, they will trade some goods brought to NATO City. An hour is enough. There are already people from Moonlit Night Merchant Group in NATO City, who have prepared everything for their arrival. Boost the efficiency of the merchant group to the highest. Soon, Moonlit Night Merchant Group stopped in NATO City, after about half a cup of tea. The manager of the merchant group quietly approached the carriage where Long HaoChen and others were, and handed a crumpled piece of paper inside. Long HaoChen opened the paper, revealing a simple map of NATO City, marked with 5 red dots. Long HaoChen spread the map for his companions to memorize carefully, then gestured slightly, and everyone quietly got off the carriage, heading in different directions. The manager is the overall leader of Moonlit Night Merchant Group this time, and one of Yu Ye's most trusted individuals. Before arriving in NATO City, Long HaoChen had instructed him to investigate the location of the Golden Goblins. He had made preparations in advance, allowing him to immediately provide the specific locations of the 5 Golden Goblins upon their arrival. The manager chosen by Yu Ye was originally a spy planted by the Temple Alliance within Moonlit Night Merchant Group, and he is also a human. Naturally, there is no fear of him causing any problems. Of course, he only vaguely knows Long HaoChen and their identity as demon hunters, and he is not clear on the specific demon hunting squad. The attire of Long HaoChen and the other 6 is similar, each wearing a large cloak that covers the entire body, with a hat, making it impossible to see their faces. Such attire is not uncommon among demons, and is quite common. Due to the environmental damage in the demon territory over the years, the sandstorms are much larger than in the Temple Alliance territory.